Okay, so some of you guys have been saying that you're confused by how the string count goes. This is what we have. There are 12 individual strands in this one, but we're going to double it up so that way we're basically using 6 strings. There are 6 colors. If I didn't double it up, if I wanted to make this thinner, I would not be able to have this kumi as my loop. So there's the 6 that'll be on this side as well as the 6 that will be on this side. So if you want to count that as something different, it's whatever. There's just 12 strands going into the kumi. That's the easiest way for me to count. If you wanted to skip having a kumi and have braids on both sides of the bracelet, then obviously you have to double the number of what's over here, right? I try to make this as clear as possible, but I know that everybody has a different way of doing this. So if you're trying to follow along with how I do it, this is how I do it. There are 12 strands. If I'm going to double it up, I call them strings. I've never tripled anything, so you don't have to worry about that. That isn't really a thing. It kind of gets sloppy at that point. But I do double it up because it makes it easier for adding strings, and also I really like the thickness. Alright, so now I'm going to get on to actually making this thing here. So let me slide this out of the way. Okay, it took a second to get the easel set up there to get the camera and whatever. But here's what we're going to do. We are going to make a tube, but we're going to make this one very, very small tube. Alright, so we're going to take the 3 colors to the one side, 3 colors to the other, kind of like my previous tube ones we were making. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the top one time, and then over the top one time, just like how I basically start off all my bracelets, because it makes this little portion between the kumi and the beginning of the bracelet nice and smooth. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, coming in the other direction. And you'll notice I'm going from the darkest to the lightest. I'm going to do the same over here, darkest to the lightest. And because the last one we did, I made both of the different sides the same, this time we're going to demonstrate what happens if we change that up. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. Let's bring the purple across now. So it's just, this is just the regular basic doing the figure 4 over top of the string, and then pulling it this one up and through. Now obviously I've done this long enough that happens much faster. I kind of just come around my finger and pull that up that way, and it goes much quicker, but that's just experience. I saw some people talking about getting carpal tunnel as a result of all of this stuff, and yeah, that's because they are trying to hold things too tightly. And that's why I use the clip, and that's why I am holding this kind of not too tight. If you're trying to contort, and I've seen macrame people that don't use clips, man. Kudos to you if you can do it. It's difficult, it's whatever, but I suspect that kind of action is what is going to cause you to end up having real issues later on in life. I've been doing this for more than 30 years. I have no problems. This is not because I'm a man. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's all about your technique. So relax, enjoy it. Alright, so now I've created one small little diamond using the purple. Alright, just 3 knots across and 3 down. And we have this one little tiny diamond. Alright, now turn it, go to the other side. Okay. So again, we have the purple over on the left, pink on the right. We want to keep that consistent to keep things going. But what we're going to change is, last time we went from dark to light, this time we're going to go light to dark. So I'm going to take this lightest purple, and again, just do the same thing. Come up only once. And that's just for the part where we're getting the strings in the right sequence. The getting it in the right sequence is perhaps the biggest battle you will have when it comes to making a bracelet. You can dream up a really fun pattern. The times that I find that I'm actually using the graph paper most is trying to find out how do I bring it to a nice start, a nice point up here in the beginning. Other than that, the rest of the idea of the bracelet should be relatively simple. You should be able to go through stuff. So, alright, again, light to dark. And again, this is just taking and doing a single thing over top. So again, this one is going to go purple across. Alright. And it just makes one little tiny diamond. Just like the other side. Now because this one is so thin, you're not going to see as much of how the colors kind of come across each other. I mean, this is a really skinny tube bracelet. You might have noticed I did an Instagram post where I just gave one of these things away. I was just experimenting before actually doing this tutorial, and the colors are fun, sort of a kind of a rustic kind of color, but I felt like there just wasn't enough contrast to really use that in the tutorial. So I scrapped that one and decided to go with this, something that had a little bit more contrast, a little bit more fun. So now this one is so skinny that it is relatively impossible to fit something like the chopstick in the middle. But rest assured, that's not necessarily a problem, because it's so skinny you can turn it and it'll lay kind of the way you want it to without having the need for that chopstick. So, alright. Bring the two sides together, and at this point we make the diamond with the pink going the opposite direction. So we have to readjust that so that way this knot's going to sit nice. Kind of can feel when I start to put the knot together that no, not really aligned properly. Make the adjustment, and there you have it. All right. Okay. The next one, I guess the middle one, I guess, because I got dark, medium, light. So this is medium. Mind you, going this direction for the knot is kind of like the figure 4 done backwards. Let me just bring it up and through. I'm not doing anything difficult here. It's basically the same knot you do as a candy stripe and its counterpart. That's it. And then this one. Alright, so now we have our 3 diamonds on this side. We can't go any further down without turning this into a flat bracelet. So we have to take the clip off, flip this over, and bring these 2 corners up together and clip it down. And again, this side will be the pink. And these 3 pink will go over top of these 3 purple. So doubling up the string is made this a nice big fat knot. It kind of makes the work go a little bit quicker, as well as it gives it a very distinct look. So whatever your motivation there is, you know, that's what you want to try, I say go for it. I like it mostly because I'm really comfortable with it. I've done it for a long time. It's how I get bags made, because it is super easy to, well, I say super easy. I'm super accustomed to adding string with it now. And it's a lot easier adding string with this than it would be if I were trying to do it with a single strand. In fact, I'm kind of sure that doing single strand becomes really super difficult, especially with trying to get the string to hold still at the beginning part. That's the real kicker. You could sort of, if you knew in advance it's coming, you could probably maybe run it through on the inside of some other knots. I just like the way that you can loop it over, and it is a thing. Actually, a tutorial on that is coming up. I have one in there already, but a video for it is coming up because I'm trying to get the string cut, and we'll be doing one for the Traveler Notebook. That's coming up soon as well. Alright, so now I've got both of the pink sides done, right, on either side. So it's time to do the purple again, and this time, just like before, the purple will be going to the right, and always the pink is going now to the left. So, and here's where this gets kind of interesting, because we changed the color. You'll see now that the purple up here is going to be the reverse of the one before it. And that's either going to make it fancy, or it's going to make it so you don't like it as much. So, not sure which. Leave a comment. Tell me if you think this is more interesting, or if you think it takes away from the overall pattern. And I apologize if you can hear the construction in the background. I don't get a whole lot of time anymore to actually create these videos, and they are still doing all the construction on the parking lot out there, as well as now I think they're painting the buildings, so all kinds of weird noises. But at least they stopped jackhammering that they were doing earlier, so kind of kudos for that. I think they're just pouring the cement, although I can't identify all of the sounds, and I can't see out the window from where I'm sitting, so I have no idea. Alright, so now we have this purple finished. We have to turn the whole thing around 180 degrees to get to the other side and do the purple on the other side. So and this time it's going to start on the light. Now this makes a really nice skinny bracelet that's thick. Because it's a tube, it's got more depth than the normal flat bracelets. So here we go. Second row, and now the dark. So you can see how it fades down to the light and then back up to the dark, right? And it's going to continue to do that indefinitely, and now the pinks are going to do the same as well. So at this point, we don't have to turn it 180, we just turn it 90 degrees because we're just going over to this part. So here's my 3 purple, here's my 3 pink. I can take the ones in the back, get them out of my way. And of course, again, the pink is going to the left. So this one starts with the lightest. So that just, okay, so what just happened there was as I was pulling the string through, I ended up getting a hold of only one of them and not both. That's something when doubling up your string you have to keep an eye on, because that would really mess things up a lot. So just kind of trying to get ahead of myself, going a little too fast or something, I suppose. But here you're actually seeing me at real time. This is, I didn't speed anything up here for this portion. I'm going to do time lapse for the rest of this here. But this is how I normally work. Mind you, I have a camera right smack dab in my face, so it's maybe I work a little bit faster when I'm not having to kind of duck and move around to see what I'm doing. But this is close to regular speed for me. All right, and then we'll turn it to 180, come to the other side, and do the pink over here. Again, I can't imagine anybody wanting to try this out with a bit of tape or something, because there is a lot of rotating going on. So again, just invest in a good clip, and you can use that indefinitely. If you're using tape, you are going to be, well, for one, pretty wasteful. 2, it's going to leave some gummy residue stuff on your work that will make dust and dirt stick to it easier. And when you start to get into these patterns, you're just going to have to go through a whole lot more of it. Whereas a clip, you won't have that problem. If you're one of those people who safety pins, you are probably causing some damage to some of the fabric, as well as you are going to have to keep repinning frequently on a pattern like this, whereas a clip, again, will be way more productive. You'll be able to move things around and change it up much quicker. So as fun as those other ways might seem, honestly, I'm trying to teach you a way that you can stick with for a really long time. All right, so here we've gone through the cycle a couple times, and you can see the purple will come down in a straight, and the pink will come down in a straight. The purple and the pink. It's a tiny tube. It's so dense that you can't really squish it flat, which is sort of cool. It'll probably feel really nice on the wrist since it's a little tube. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and bang this out with the time lapse, and then I'll talk to you when I get it all finished. All right. Okay, so I just saw the time lapse for this, and I have to apologize. That's crazy quick. New camera, new settings, new stuff. So yeah, that was a little faster than I intended. But here's what we came up with. It feels really good and solid. Mind you, I haven't washed it or anything yet, so it'll loosen up a bit after I've done that. I'm gonna zoom in here. Let me have a look. It's gorgeous. It's a really fun bracelet. I think anybody receiving this would be really pretty happy, except for anybody who, guys that don't care for pink. But that said, it's a fun. It's a relatively quick bracelet. Did the pattern work out pretty cool with the alternating colors? Yeah, I think so. It's fun to note that it goes, dark to light, light to dark, dark to light, light to dark, or, if you come down partially, it swaps over. So both sides basically look the same, just offset by one space. The ease of this, I would say this is still just an intermediate. You only have the two knots, the one that takes you to the right and the one that takes you to the left. That's it. So the only part is again having the clip, so that way you can keep rotating it as you're working along. If you have questions, again, please, just let me know. You can't ask too many. I'm really, I try to be approachable. So, yeah, that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Until then, don't get your strings in a bunch. I hope you enjoyed this video and got inspired. If you would like to help support the channel and website, please subscribe. It's really a small act that would go a long way. I'd also encourage you to check out my website for more tutorials, patterns, as well as the shop. If you have any questions or ideas for future tutorials, please let me know. Who knows, if I really like the idea, you may just receive a bracelet that I make in the video as my way of saying thanks. So until next time, don't get your strings in a bunch.